Hello, my name is Joe, and this is Sierra Specialty Auto. Welcome to the shop. In the spring of 1962, I was 14 years old. My dad was the resident manager at a summer recreation camp. The big project that year was construction of a new leach field. Dad got a man in with a bulldozer to flatten out an area about 50 feet wide, 300 feet long. Then the next job was to dig 1,500 lineal feet of leach ditch, 5 runs of 300 feet, 1 foot wide, 2 foot deep, which would then get backfilled partway with gravel, set with the leach line, more gravel, and then backfilled. Nobody in our area had a backhoe at that time. They had been invented, I think, in the mid-50s, but they hadn't made their way up to our rural neck of the woods. So my dad and I dug that ditch, 1,500 feet, as I say, foot wide, 2 foot deep. My reward, my payment for that work was a 1929 Model A Ford. I got that in September after I had turned 15. We'll put up a picture here in a moment of that car when I got it. I still have that car. As a mechanic and a machinist, I got pretty deeply involved into a number of different restoration aspects, including modified engines. Most of the guys who are building these cars, even the ones who build high point cars, are making the engines a little more powerful. They're counterbalancing the crankshafts, which were originally not counterbalanced. As a result of that, many mechanics and engineers feel that the need for a heavy flywheel is reduced. These cars came with a flywheel that weighs 63 pounds without the ring gear. That's a heck of a lot of cast iron. So most of the people who are building the modified engines, these high performance or slightly high performance engines, are cutting these flywheels down, generally down into the range of 33, 34, 35 pounds, give or take a little bit, to reduce the rotating mass, let the engine come up to speed faster. And I made a sort of a specialty out of this. I've done probably 35 or 40 of them, and I've got another one to do. I'm going to bring you along for the ride. Let's take a look at a couple of pictures of flywheels. I've got pictures of a cut flywheel or lightened flywheel and uncut in the natural state. There's my spike heater, as Mr. Pete would say. Let's take a look at those pictures, and then let's go to the lathe and chuck one of these big babies up and start whittling away at it. We'll leave about, we'll leave close to 30 pounds of cast iron in the chip tray by the time we're done. These flywheels in original condition are recessed or stepped. They have a 1 1/8 inch deep pocket or recess in the face of the flywheel, and the clutch pressure plate is built to accommodate that. It drops into this recess. The pressure plates that most of the people are using with these is a later pressure plate, often called a V8 pressure plate, and it wants a flat surface. So one of the later steps in this process is going to be to cut this rim completely off. But if we did it first, we wouldn't have anything to hang on to for working on the other side. So we're going to flip it around and chuck it up by that ring, machine that off, machine this material out of the ID of the back of the flywheel. When we're done with that, we'll turn around, grab it by this surface, and take the ring off. The indicator on your left shows lateral run out. The indicator on the right shows radial run out. That one is running in the pilot bushing bore, which should be quite concentric. We'll get this pretty close right now and do the roughing work. I'll leave 20 thousandths or so for a final cut. After we get the roughing done, we'll go back to the indicators and get it dialed in properly for the finished cuts. This does want to be very concentric and very well balanced. Even on slow running engines like Model A engines, the balance is quite critical for a smooth running engine. So let's start running through this for lateral run out first on the left hand indicator. Get that pretty close. That's good enough there for now. Now let's switch to the right hand indicator, and that looks pretty good. If that holds up when I tighten the chuck, we'll leave it right there. And it did. This is a set true chuck, by the way, on this lathe with the adjustable back plate. So it is a 3-jaw chuck, but it has the 4-way adjustment for setting centers. So it works very well for this kind of work. Let's break this indicator setup down now and put a cutting tool in. Get to work. I've touched off and set my cross feed handle to 0. I have a carriage stop set on the ways about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom, so that I can come back in after I get it roughed out with a 3/16 radius round tool. Can you see that? There, I don't know. Here, there we go. 3/16 round tool to chamfer that corner and remove any stress risers. When we get back to that point, it'll be about time to re-zero the chuck. So that'll be probably a part of a separate process. I'm going to start fairly conservatively at about 100 thousandths depth of cut. Every time I do this, I start easily until I get a feel for it again. It's generally 2 or 3 years between sessions, so I have to retrain myself. This will be 100 thousandths depth of cut, 200 off the diameter. The feed and speed shown in the machinery's handbook for a 10-inch diameter cut seems to me to be very high, even for a pretty solid machine like this. It's a lot of cut. Let's see what happens at 180 RPM. I'm after about 450 thousandths thickness at this point at the ring gear. I'm at 570, so I want about another 120 off of that. I'll take 50 off the diameter for the next pass. By the way, I'm wearing ear protection for this. This is a very noisy process, and I'm turning the volume way down when I'm actually machining. As I say, it's been 2 or 3 years at least since I did any of these. Each time I do it, I do what I'm doing now. It takes me a while to get back into the hang of it. I'd a lot rather take too little than too much. You cannot put it back. We're pretty close on this dimension for now. I'm going to go back in and get very close to the inside face here and clean up. I stopped 200 thousandths, or 200, I stopped a 1/4 inch shy of the bottom all the way across this pass. I want to go back and get most of that, come out to about a 1/4 inch shy on the diameter to leave a fillet in there for me to take out with the radius tool. So I'll make a few more passes there. That's about all I'm going to take with the boring bar. Now I need to set up my radius tool, get in there and do a little more rough work. Now we have a nice radius at the root of the cut. I let that feed back out. This lathe has reversible feed on the cross feed and the carriage. So I'm able to feed either direction just by flipping the handle. So we'll back this out now, turn the flywheel around and start working on this, removing the step. I mentioned earlier that I have to retrain myself every time I do this job because it's so long in between. Mr. Bozo just about got me. I remembered just in time that since I'm going to remove this ring on the front face of the flywheel, I have to finish the finish cuts. I have to do the finish cuts on the back side. Ordinarily, when I do these, I do 5 or 6 at a time. I throw them up on the chuck. I rough out the back side of all of them. So I rough out a backside, take one off, put another one on, rough out the backside. So I'm used to taking them off the chuck right after I rough out. But then that's only one part of one operation on one flywheel. I forgot this time that I need to finish the job because I'm only doing one this time. So I'm going to take this back off, spin it around, dial it in again, and do the finish cuts on the inside. All right, there, we're within a half a thousand in both directions, both radial and lateral run out. Within a half, so that's a pretty good place to start. We'll come back in with the rounding tool, the radius tool, and set for a very slight cut across the back surface here. Pull that in till we just touch off. Set my carrot stop. And back off about, let's make it about 3/1000 of an inch and see if we can't get a clean cut there. So I'll be starting from the outside out here and running all the way in and then coming across to the center. Don't know how much you'll be able to see from there. Let's set up another camera. That went well. I blended that out into this radius edge here. Now I'm going to put a 60-degree tool in here, and I'm going to touch up these surfaces right here and right here. I don't want to do anything to this inner diameter here because that registers on the end of the crankshaft. Can't take anything off of that or it'll be loose on the crank. And when I finish across here, I would like to take so little that the original machining marks still show underneath the cut I take. All right, I'm ready to start this facing cut. I'm going to go after this facing cut on the flywheel register surface. I'm using the carriage stop. I'm going to advance in here just a thousandth or so at a time until I just touch. I think I'm going to take 2 more thousandths of an inch off of that. I need it cleaned up just a tiny bit better than that. And there's no telling what kind of warpage has occurred in this flywheel as the stresses relieve themselves over the years. That's just perfect. There are still the faint remains of the original machining all the way around there. So I know I'm still extremely close to being true to the original surface. And I also know that I have a perfectly parallel face here with the rest of the flywheel. When I was trying to indicate on this ring gear register, there was a little hiccup in there. When I turn this around, I'm going to need this surface true and smooth in order to indicate the lateral run out when I reverse the flywheel. I won't be able to get to this face because it'll be against the chuck jaws. So I need to be able to get to this face. I'm going to take a very light truing cut on this part, not on the outer diameter where the ring gear registers, but on the face where the ring gear seats. So I want to take, again, preferably so little that the original machining marks are still visible. I just want to get it smooth enough to be able to run the dial indicator on there. So I'm going to change tools again and be back with you in a couple of minutes. Again, I have the carriage stop set. I will sneak up on this a thousandth of an inch at a time until I get just touching and see how that works out. regularity of getting close. Alright, I'm going to try this. Feed out on the cross feed. I did not get a full cut. 2 more thousandths. That sounded like a full cut. Let me take a look at it. I'm going to take another 0.02 of an inch off of that. This is not a highly critical surface. If that ring gear goes in 0.04 of an inch farther than it did originally, that's not an issue. Need to put a little chamfer on here. All right, that is the back surface of the flywheel. All the back surfaces have been touched up and cleaned, and probably 15 pounds of metal taken off, maybe a little more, maybe 18 pounds of cast iron taken off. This video is going to run a little bit long if we don't break it here, so let's call this part 1, and I hope you'll come back for part 2. I hope you'll comment, I hope you'll subscribe, and I do hope you'll come back again. Thank you for watching.